Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Your boy Road Dogg here with the man that's walking the yellow brick road to success and to fame and fortune, Mr. Karl Bryan. How are you, Shoots?
There we go. Damn, you must be in a good mood there, Shoots. You're not poking fun at me. You're not, damn, yellow brick road. That's good.
I am choosing to channel my anger elsewhere today, and I will be on Twitter like a madman today, trolling certain political figures in the province of British Columbia. But anyways, on that note, I will limit the short jokes. But if you're opening the door, like, it's hard for me not to walk through it. Like, you should know better than to deliberately tell me I'm ignoring making fun of you, because you know where that leads.
Yeah, and I love it. You know, I love glutton for punishment, Shoots. Remember the time we were at the bar and you caught me? You thought I was checking out the guys.
Listen, but there's a lot of things that you are a very intriguing fella. Sometimes, you know, I'm like, is that Vanilla Ice? No, that's just Karl dressed like he's 18 years old. You know, like it's interesting times, dude. Interesting times. For somebody as successful as you, I have never met someone dressed as poorly as you from time to time. And I do think that your wife needs to take more of that matter into her own hands, ensuring that you are dressed for success, my friend.
My daughter, actually, literally, like this weekend, she's there, and I'm wearing, you know, like I literally, you know, you've seen my T-shirts. It's not pretty, folks. I've had these bad boys for 10, 12 years. And my wife, she literally throws stuff out. It's remarkable that I still have a few of these things still standing. But my daughter's there, and she's like, hole, 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 hole. She's like, Daddy, why do you always wear shirts with holes in them? I'm like, can't really explain that. And homeless Karl, that's what they call me. And there you go. It's fine. I'm good.
Well, there you go. And you know what's interesting about that? For a guy that dresses like he's homeless, your Accounting 101 book apparently has just hit #1 in 4 countries. So that's pretty incredible, right? Homeless Karl, Accounting 101. So congratulations there, big fella. But why don't we start there? Like, I just think that's obviously, you know, because you know what everybody wants to start every week with is let's talk about numbers, accounting, and all the finer points of numbers. Like, let's do that. But joking aside, you and I both know when it comes to business coaching and anyone operating a business, it's all about the numbers. So do you have any quick sort of takeaways? Like, what's the best advice that I guess probably pretty tough. I'm pretty sure the whole thing is a gem, but if you had to pull a few pieces out of it, what would you say would be the best pieces of advice from your new book, Accounting 101?
I like what you just said, like the numbers. Like, I used to be the sales and marketing guy that goes, oh, I'm just not a numbers guy. It didn't bother. But like, just scrap that. That's a story that a good amount of people listening to this will be telling themselves. Stop it. Silly, unnecessary. But yeah, that's, so here it is. Really good advice. Taxes is the #1 expense in Road Dogg's life, my life, your life, everybody we know's life. But your clients have never spent 5 seconds thinking about them. They don't realize that. If you give me a room of 100 people and I say, what's the #1 expense in your life? 80 hands will go up for, you know, housing and mortgage and that sort of thing. And it's taxes, not by a little, but by a country mile. So understanding to help people there. Like I said, we're coaches. Let's say you charge $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year. If you could understand financial statements, you could go and find that 24 grand without making a sale, without hiring anybody, without doing anything, just looking at understanding how to look at a financial document. Importantly, and as I say in the book, you don't need to be able to create the financial document. You need to be able to look at it and understand what you're looking at. And I promise you, if you pass grade 8 math, you will be able to follow this. When you work with us, we have, we build a membership site for every one of our clients. And as part of that membership site, they get these 8 videos, which, by the way, they sell for, $9.97 is like the automatic amount, unless they want to, up it or reduce it or whatever. But bottom line, and they get all of the money, by the way. But you could imagine going to a business owner going, look, I get it. You just don't get the numbers. You're not a numbers guy. You're not a numbers gal. I got a series of 8 videos that you can have for $9.97, and I'll send you the link, right? They hit it. Bingo, bango, bongo, 8 videos. They're magic. Anyways, taxes, super important. Little thing called gross profit margin. I think we talked about that last week, maybe the week before. Just line me up. You give me a list of the top brands in the world, and I'll give you my list. They'll probably be very similar: Nike, Disney, Ferrari, Rolex, whatever. And they have one thing in common. I guarantee it without even looking at them. One thing: gross profit margin. The average business coach doesn't know what that is, and that is a terrible mistake. It's very straightforward. But anyway, so that would be there. Break even, understanding break even and the importance. Your business coaching client, you with your business have this little thing called gross profit margin, net profit margin. The magic about break even is that the money above break even, you get gross profit margin. So let's say your gross profit is 50 and then your net profit is 20. You make 20%. So let's say they made break even is 400 grand and the company did 800 grand last year. So 400 is break even, 800 was gross. On the first 400, they'd make 20%, which is $80,000. On the second 400, the 400 above break even, they're making 50%. So they're making $200,000 of profit on the second 400 grand. That's very important. So anyway, so understanding break even, but as a business coach, here's my question. Have you ever spent 5 seconds trying to help your client find their break even? Probably not. Road dog, look, thinking in percentages, training. Okay. And again, I've gone over this a zillion times, but if you drive traffic to a landing page and there's a 2% conversion, and then Road Dog gets a hold of it and he increases it to a 3% conversion, the average mind thinks that's a 1% improvement, and who would bother? It's not 1%. When you train that's a 50% improvement, not 1, but you don't think in percentages. Your client definitely doesn't think in percentages, or with like a 90% predictability. Help them do that. That's why when we built profit acceleration software, there's whole numbers and percentages. Like I insisted the entire thing needed to be done in percentages, because not only is it's a wealth hack on steroids, but we want to be able to help our clients be thinking along those lines, the business coaches and then their clients. So thinking in percentages, Road Dog. And the good news in some is that like 3 financial documents are all you really need to be able to understand. So it's pretty straightforward. And, learn financial documents and how to read them over cute websites. Like instead of reading, the 4-hour work week and The Secret and thinking that positive thinking is going to get you anywhere. Look, positive thinking is better than negative thinking. It goes without saying, but it's not getting you anywhere. The end, right? Accept that. What is going to get you somewhere is hard, bloody work, and the yellow brick road, right, Doug? Like what you talked about, it's hard, bloody work. So learn to read financial documents instead of reading The Secret and thinking that positive thinking. Like positive thinking, if you really look at it, the people who are talking about that are lightweights. That's harsh, and I apologize for maybe the way that comes across. But I'm telling you, if somebody's sitting there telling you talking to you about the law of attraction, I'd probably find somebody else. A real mentor can tell you what not to do, right? So anyways, Road Dog, that's I appreciate kudos, brother. High five. And there's some advice straight from the book, and there's plenty more than that. It's got lots of magic. So there you go, Shoots. What do you think?
I'm still waiting for my autographed copy. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, this needs to happen, right? What do you sell the book for? Like, if you had to sell this book on Amazon, what would you sell it for?
I don't know. I haven't bought one. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's 20, 30 bucks.
Listen, I feel like I just Shark Tanked you and I caught you with your pants down because you didn't know your numbers. Look at what just happened here, folks. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And you want to be a book salesman and you don't even know what the price of the book is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So with that frame, let's get back to basics, Karl, shall we? Listen, when we're talking about getting started, okay, obviously knowing your numbers is very important, as everybody just so embarrassingly witnessed. But let's, on a serious note, though, like when we're starting out, like I don't know if everyone starts out wanting to build a 7-figure coaching business. Maybe people have that huge aspiration. Maybe some people just want 6, but I'm sure, that whole $1 million, 2 comma club, all that stuff is out there. So like, what does it really take to build a 7-figure coaching business? Can we start with that?
Yeah. So you're like, last week we went over how to get started and you're kind of thinking, look, this question is what is it? What does it take? Can you just give me the wording? Sorry.
What does it take to build a 7-figure coaching business? That's the question that we got.
Okay, well, first of all, accept that you're going to be in the 2%. The truth is you're probably not ready. So accept that. And, a better yellow brick road, a better acceptance is that growth is going to be required, and that growth is going to take sacrifice, and that would be lots of sacrifice, and sacrifice being, putting yourself in, uncomfortable situations in harm's way where you could look really stupid. But that's what it's going to take. So again, you want to be the 2%. That means that you leave 98% behind. It's going to give you a lot of distance, and you're going to need to be comfortable with that. I actually used to, what was it? 7 steps to 7 figures. I used to train my new business coaches who are preparing to do live events. This one, and I got to think. Okay, so number 1, you got to create the mindset. So I'm going to try and rattle off these 7 steps. I might mess them up, but we'll be close. Number 1, you have to create the mindset that you're worthy of 7 figures. Sounds obvious, but it's the hardest and most important step by 100 miles. Like, actually, okay, so number 1 is just getting that mindset right. Number 2 is you actually have to be worth 7 figures based on value, right? Like we talk about that a lot on the podcast. Like, don't just go into the business of promoting you until you're ready. You don't want to scream too loud until you actually want people to hear you, if that makes sense. So again, remember, you're probably not there. So there's probably some work to be done in the area of being worth 7 figures based on value. Okay. So number 1 is mindset. Number 2 would be value. Number 3 is I'm going to call it a yellow brick road theme of today. As in, a goal of 7 figures, just, it's not happening. Sorry, the end, stop the podcast and go on with your day. If you don't have a yellow brick road, it's not happening, right? So don't tell me your goal, right? It means, okay, so show me your goal. I've said this a zillion times, but I'll continue to say it. Somebody tells me they want to hit 7 figures. I play stupid and say, hey, what is that per month? Sorry, I forget. It's $83,333.33 per month. They don't know that. If you don't know that, you're not hitting 7 figures, right? Like, not only have you not broken down your goal, but you most certainly haven't created anything that would resemble a plan, or again, we're going to call today a yellow brick road. Make sure enough people know you exist. They talk about marketing. It's not what you know, it's who you know. That is incorrect. Marketing is about who knows you. Or let's say 7-figure marketing is about who knows you, right? And do important people locally know you? Be worthy of 7 figures based on work. Okay, so that's totally different than value. Are you willing, like, you can lay out the yellow brick road, but my question is, and you get a cold, right? Are you going to be, it's funny, like, there's a couple, like, I got COVID. I wasn't real happy about it. I was sick, there's no doubt, like, it was a punch in the mouth, and I was sick. But I was sick for, like, I'm going to say 2 days, maybe a third day. And day 3.5, day 4, definitely, I was back working, right? And not because I'm trying to be Superman or this, that, and the other, but I mean, I just, I stayed in bed. I did what I had to do, or whatever that looked like. You know what I mean, right? But I knew I was going to be sick. I dealt with it, and then I got on with it, right? So the question is, are you going to do the work, right? And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. There's lots of people like that, but when you get the sniffles and you're going to spend 3 days in bed, I'm sorry, you're not earning seven figures, not happening, and don't pretend, right? Like just you got to be. I think being realistic. I want to hover over top of everything I'm talking about here. Where am I at? I think I'm at number 6. Distance. You've got to. We talked about this a lot lately, so I won't go in depth. But you're going to distance yourself. New communities, new houses, new. When you are on stage and your friends are in the audience, there's 3 feet, 10 feet between you, but there is a Grand Canyon of distance. You've got to be comfortable with that. And that distance can sting a little bit and they can take a little bit of love away. Just listen to the past podcast. I'll go into that, but you're going to have to be comfortable with that distance or you're not getting anywhere. And then number 7 was stop overthinking, right? You gotta get congruent with a 7-figure mindset. Like I love Ted Lasso. Oh my gosh. If you haven't watched Ted Lasso, it's worth watching one and then decide if you want to watch it all. But I've watched a number of episodes now, and he talks about he's basically a football coach, goes to the UK teaching soccer, coaching soccer. He's never even played soccer. He doesn't even know the rules, right? And it's Jason Sudeikis, is that his name? Anyways, guy like Saturday Night Live, I find him to be, he's the guy who started We're the Millers. And if you haven't seen We're the Millers, that's another freaking home run movie. But anyway, so he talks about a goldfish. He'll throw it to his players once in a while and say, hey, what's the animal or, what's got the shortest memory, right? And then the team will say back to him, goldfish. And he talks about like when they lose, when they mess up, yada, yada, yada. They got to be a goldfish, forget it and move on. And I think that when you're overthinking, you've got to be able, to just drop it and go. Hopefully that should make sense. But overthinking is not going to get you anywhere. It'll absolutely halt you. You won't even get the 6 figure. It could halt you before you get the 6 figures, let alone 7. So anyway, so that's hopefully it was 6 or 7 steps, whatever it was. But basically, if you want to hit 7 figures, like you need mindset, you've got to be of value. You need a plan / yellow brick road. People need to know that you exist. You can't just know them. They need to know you. Again, it's not about who you know. It's who knows you. You got to be worthy of those 7 figures based on your work ethic. Again, are you going to work at 5 a.m.? Where are you? Right? You need beauty sleep on the weekend. Is it, it's the weekend, so I can't work? And people around you who love you tell you, you're working too hard. You're going to burn yourself out. And then you actually listen, right? Like, give me a break. The happiest people in the world are the most productive and work the hardest towards something meaningful. But anyway, so that's, and then what was that? Distance would be number 6. And then number 7 is overthinking. Anyway, so they were complemented. They were complemented with what? Like things that you need. Okay. So there's 7 steps to 7 figures, but then there's things that you need, right? So, because again, don't just think you're going to be a 7-figure business coach, right? And that's, because you're going to work really hard. That's not the way it works, right? So like, what are you going to need? Like you need, what am I going to call it? 7-figure status, right? Like you need to actually be somebody of importance. And again, with fear of sounding pompous or whatever that might sound like, you've got to have that, right? Like if you Google my name, you'll see like my name and then net worth comes up. And like, that's not something that I work towards. That's not something I know the first time like somebody else saw it, they're like, have you ever noticed this? Right? It's just, that's a decade of hard work, right? But when I Google your name, what are you going to see, right? You have 7-figure status. You got to wear, and you're in the starting blocks. You don't expect to be there tomorrow. This is a long-term effort. So what's that going to look like? You got to have 7-figure value. Talked about that a little bit earlier, but you're going to have to be the kind of person that when they pay you big money, that you deliver. You got to have 7-figure visibility. Again, are you the one standing when everybody's sitting, or are you sitting in the middle of the audience? You've got to be that. I used to have a saying, the person at the front of the room makes all the money. It's a bit of an exaggeration, by the way, but just think about it as as a black and white statement and get the person, become the person at the front of the room. What was the other one? 7-figure leverage, right? Like, know how to, like, when you approach the accountant, do they act? Or are you the person that goes to the accountant and then get bitchy because they never respond to your emails afterwards, right? And that includes the magazine and the radio station and the local digital marketer and the incubator. And do you have testimonials and social proof? And if I look at the number of referrals that you've got over the last 90 days, what do they look like? Do you have your own podcast? Do you have your own videos? Do you have your own on Facebook? Are you doing Facebook Live? Or are you too shy because you don't feel, if you're too shy to do a Facebook Live, you're not of enough value because you don't, and mindset, you don't feel like you're enough value. You absolutely are, and you're going to get way better at it, but you don't do it because you don't get enough views, you don't get enough comments, you don't get enough shares, and then therefore you'll never get there, right? You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to get great. Is that you know what I mean? You kind of follow, but you got to put one foot in front of the other. 7-figure productivity falls into it. The secret to cleaning the sink is to bloody clean the sink only, right? And just get it done and then move on. But most people do, again, they're like the goldfish kind of metaphor kind of falls into that, but it's 10 seconds on one thing and then it's 10, don't forget, you know what I mean? This is the opposite. Like, you got to just follow bloody through. When you're filling an event on Tuesday, stop at your 8, then look at your 80-20, right? And then your 95-5 and your 150s, and then go, okay, what I need to do is, this email, this distraction, taking out the garbage, etc. Really what needs to happen is you need to spend the time to make sure that you get your people in the room on Tuesday, the end, drop the mic, it's over, right? But we're multitasking, right? Do the bloody sink. And then you have to have, I don't want to word, like, the ability to overcome obstacles, right? And by the way, this kicker here, I used to talk about this in depth, but like, it's imagined and unimagined, right? Like, the worst are the imagined ones, right? In other words, it's stuff that doesn't actually happen that you think might happen. Like, they're going to find out that you're not legit, as an example. Was that 6? And then I think, and then 7 is a 7-figure network, right? Like, again, if I look at your contacts, I look at your Rolodex, I look at the phone calls that you have made and received over the last, again, let's say 90 days. Is that a 7-figure contact list, or is it a 6-figure contact list, or is it less than that, or is it maybe non-existent? Like, you have, again, you're hiding behind the computer, staring at the phone and experiencing pain, is the way that I used to describe it, right? So again, so you basically, I want you to be thinking about it. There's 7 steps to 7 figures, but what I'm going over there, like, you got to have the status, you've got to be of value, you got to have visibility. You've got to know and understand the leverage, things like referrals and testimonials and social proof, and then knowing that there's the right people to know, and then there's people to know. Like, you got to, let's go to the right people, right? And then your productivity, again, are you trying to do 15 things at once? Or are you dialing in and using mental models like 80-20, 95-5, 150 on a regular basis throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month? You're doing that. And then the ability to overcome obstacles, and then your network. Like, if I look at all those things, I'm going to be able to tell you will be able to reverse engineer your own reality and then tell me if you're going to hit 7 figures. And there's a really good chance you're not. And if you want to, and you're legitimate, like, you legitimately want to do something that looks like 83,000 plus per month with your coaching, which is not for the faint of heart, by the way. Don't feel like you got to hit 7 figures because it's cool. Don't let your ego do it, because then you'll self-sabotage and make a mess, for yourself and some clients, etc. Having a nice little business where you net, 200 grand and have no headaches and no dramas, that's a really awesome business for a lot of people. So don't feel like you need to hit 7 figures. And you can do all this stuff and just water it down a little bit. And like I said, do make a couple $100 grand net and do really well. So again, I just look, the ones that I just went, again, I would systematically write those down. And then the question, if you want to hit 7 figures, are you building in each area, right? So, and by the way, the solution to all of that, what I just listed, is live event mastery. Okay. It's a program that we have. We talk about it all the time. I'll continue to talk about it. Just do, and what is it? Do one event with 4 to 10 people on a Tuesday. Most probably breakfast is where you're going to get your best results. But you should test that locally. And the reason Tuesday, because you got Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the same week to follow up. Something weird happens on the weekend between, Tuesday and then Monday, where your conversions will drop. But the bottom line, 4 to 10 people, do less lead gen and excellent follow up is what I want you to encourage you. But the bottom line is that will get you to visibility. It will allow you to bring joint venture partners into the room and to look good. You're going to have to learn. If you're going to do events like that, you're going to get some Q&A. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to become a person of value and with a higher profile. Very organically with that role, you're going to start operating at a higher level. It just have seen it 1,000 times. It will just happen. So anyway, doing an event once a week on a Tuesday will solve a lot of problems there. Not solve a lot of problems, will solve a lot of, if you're heard the list that I just gave and you're like, I don't have those things, doing a live event don't do 3 and then expect to be there. You're going to have to do this for 12 months on the trot, and it's going to be freaking hard. Because one of the problems, you're going to have all these clients. Right now, it's easy to fill an event. You could fill an event between whatever day you're listening to this and Tuesday, no question, because you probably don't have enough clients. But once you've got 20 clients and you're juggling that with trying to fill your event, now you really need to be able to, multitask, and you've got to, you're going to have to hire somebody to help you, et cetera. Maybe to do the coaching, maybe to do the lead gen, maybe to do, to help you grow your business. So again, and don't think you're going to hit 7 figures. As a general rule, you're not going to do that on your own. But the highest leverage position, importantly, and it has to do with live event mastery, but the highest leverage position is getting in front of ideal clients. Getting clients out in the wild can be treacherous. Like think of this, you can go to a list of 50, assume like 50 people show up to your event you do 10 events, or 5 events, and you get 10 to each. There's your 50 people, right? And you get 2 clients, which you should do way better than that. But assume you only get 2 clients. Okay, so hang on. You went to you went to a list of 50 of your ideal clients through a webinar, through an event, and you got 2 clients, but they were targeted through what we'll call a joint venture partner. That can be better than going out and getting 6 clients from the wild, right? Like the wild is, think Facebook, think networking groups. It's also 100 times as expensive and difficult. But if I got say I got 100 clients from the wild, and you think 80-20, there's 80 of them that I wish would have bought from somebody else. Not all coaching clients are created equal, not even close. And I see coaches, they get so frustrated when their clients cancel, and it does some harm psychologically. Remember, step number 1 of building a 7-figure coaching business is psychology, it's mindset. So it does some damage, like, oh, I'm no good at this. Look, you're not going to defy the pattern of universal law of 80-20, right? Like 20% of your clients are going to do the bloody work. And that's not to say that you're just accepting that 8 aren't going to do anything. Again, you become no such thing as a bad student. There's only a bad teacher. So you've got to sharpen your saw and become better and better and better at it. But do understand that clients are going to take you on and then not do anything. It's got nothing to do with you. It's their wife. It's their home situation. It's their husband. It's their relationships. It's their parents when they were growing up. There's so much work to be done there that don't think you're going to be able to go in and solve it all the time. So I'm trying to give you an out, don't expect to take on 10 clients and keep 10 clients. It doesn't happen for me. It doesn't happen for Tony Robbins. It doesn't happen for Road Dogg. Not going to happen, right? So be kind to yourself. That's part of psychology and the mindset of building a 7-figure business, right? And the other thing, okay, so if the highest leveraged position is getting in front of ideal clients, the solution is being able to get good at working out and then getting good at working out who has your ideal clients, right? Like if someone has an active accountant, it's fair to say that they have a more legitimate business and are doing a better job and have real revenues versus you go to the networking dealio and there's a financial planner there, bothering everybody and moving around the room and only having 30-second conversations because they want to get to know everybody, right? Like the person with the accountant is probably going to be better. Or if somebody's advertising locally, they're spending $1,000, $2,000 on a billboard or the bus stop, chair, whatever you call that bench, right? They're spending money on Google to increase their search. It's fair to say that they're actively trying to grow, and they're using their credits to, their credit card to build. That's going to be a better coaching client on average, right? Well, go to the radio, go to the company that sold the billboard, do a joint venture with them, and that's what I'm talking about there. And then you're going with social proof with their endorsement, right? Like it's again highest level activity. And the other thing I think, like a little bit of an X factor here, is understand this, right? Any audience you get in front of is going to be ranking you, right? Like our society is totally addicted to comparing, right? Like your prospects are pegging you on a list relative, to other business coaches, other speakers that they've either seen locally or heard of, right? And depending upon the level you operate at, that's going to happen locally, maybe nationally. And, if you're big news, you're doing that on an international level, right? So, and no matter how far you climb or how good you get, this happens. Like it happened in high school. It happens on social media with how many likes and comments and shares. And, people are comparing you to the other, influencer, yada, yada, yada. Think of like the sexiest man alive, right? Road Dog will have something to say about that. But you see the sexiest man alive, and imagine they have the sexiest woman alive. They might word it a little bit differently, but like you're like, she won, he won over, and then you think of, the next, little hottie patati. Going to say Madonna there for some reason. We opened somebody up earlier, the little Madonna thing. But anyway, but like LeBron James, okay, the guy is freaking insane at basketball. You love him, you hate him, completely irrelevant. The guy is unbelievable, right? Both offensively, defensively, you name it, got the championships. And yeah, he jumped ship originally from Cleveland, right? Went to the Heat. So I think he lost a lot of whatever that looked like. Smart move, bad move. You agree. Completely irrelevant. LeBron is unbelievable basketball player. He cannot get away from what? Comparison to Jordan. And by the way, comparison to Kobe and comparison to Shaq, right? Like everybody's comparing them, but definitely him and Jordan. And Kobe had the exact same thing, right? Happens to Tony Robbins and Jay Abraham. Happens to, Tim Ferriss and Gary Vee. Right? Like we all get it. Road Dog gets it. I get it. You're going to get it. And it's just a matter of what level, right? Like, again, locally, nationally, internationally, and where you're starting. And if you're asking the question, can I build a 7-figure coaching business, et cetera, you're probably, building this thing and operating at a local level. So just understand that. And then your mindset, are you tough enough? Like when you hear those comparisons and maybe they're going to be unfavorable, and then somebody has a shot at you online. I do a daily email, and I'm obviously, if you get my daily email, you're listening to this, there's a good chance you get my daily emails. If you don't get them, I think you should get them. But like I'm a total smart ass. It's done intentionally. It's not going to stop some of the abuse that I get my way and some of the things said. Like, don't think for a second I haven't read some of them and oh, geez, maybe whoopsie, right? But like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like you can't cry in your Cheerios. It's just it's a battle. So anyways, Road Dog, that's my, you want to build a 7-figure coaching business. That's my advice, Shoots. What do you think?
What do I think? I want to dive more into this addiction of comparison. But before we do, you mentioned Gary Vee. I actually heard something really cool that I thought, man, Carl's going to love this. You always talk about becoming a local celebrity, right? Like that's sort of a good target. Speaking of comparison, right? Like who could you compare yourself to locally as a local celebrity? But I heard Gary Vee say something really, really cool a couple of days ago. And he says, if you want to become that sort of celebrity status, he's like, what do you need to do to become the social media mayor for your industry in your town? And I just thought, man, that is well crafted. Like the social media mayor. Think about that. Like no one thinks about that. Like that's, anyways, what do you think of that?
I don't like it. I love it. And I agree totally. And I think when you start, look, again, you introduce me to somebody who's really, really smart and they've got some great answers, right? You introduce me to a genius and I'll show you somebody who asks clever questions. So see the way Gary Vee framed that as a question. I think it's awesome, man. That's it. And I think it's a great, I think it's a great idea. It's, what do you got to do? Now go
So
do
then
it. But you don't
putting that
have
into practice,
to
Carl, so
go,
how do we
go.
how do we do that? Like how do we use that comparison? So let's just say, I look at big deals, whatever. I want to be the number one real estate agent in Kelowna, and I'm like, man, if I could be half as handsome as Darcy Nyros, and I want to become the social media mayor, how do I become like? How do you use this comparison? It is like, let's not kid ourselves. It's an addiction, right? That people have to compare themselves. How do you use that to your advantage?
Yeah. I got to tell you, I would refer back to the 7 steps that we talked about earlier, right? Like the 7 steps and then the 7 needs, right? Like, are you like, again, we both know realtors, right? The 5% make all the money, 95%, scramble for the scraps. Are you a good realtor? And we both know in order to become a good realtor, the effort required is insane. I do not recommend it. Remember this: repeat business equals profit. You tell me if a realtor has repeat business, okay? And if you have to think about it, well, the answer is no. Again, you interview people who bought a house, like presumably the largest purchase of their lifetime. What is it? I'm going to say 2 years. It might be 18 months, and it might be 3 years. But just 2 years after they bought the house, they can't remember their realtor's name, right? It's crazy. So you need to put yourself out there, but you just go through the 7 steps and then the 7 needs that I listed earlier, and this is what you're going to have to do. And it's going to start with number 1, which is mindset. You're going to have to, like, to become the, what'd you say, social media mayor. There's a level of competence. Like, you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great. The first video that realtor or mortgage broker or dentist or chiropractor or landscaper does, it's not going to get much attention. It's not going to get any shares. And the question is, are they going to be willing to do the second video and then the third video and then the fourth video, right? And Gary Vee's a guy who's done, God knows, like thousands of videos, and now he's super popular, and we're here talking about it, right? So yeah, that's it's mindset, man, and then it's gonna be a lot of hard work when you do the video. The question is, look, we talked a few whenever that was, but mental toughness. Like, how do you can measure your height, you can measure your weight, you can measure your strength, etc. What you can't measure is your mental toughness. And then what I said, we got a ton of really, a lot of feedback, mostly very positive. But I said, like, mental toughness, when your coaching client goes to cancel, how you respond, there's your level of mental toughness, right? So when you put a video out there and you don't get any likes, you don't get any shares, you don't get many views, my question is, how quickly are you going to do the second one? And are you going to sit there and cry in your Cheerios metaphorically, or are you just going to go, and are you going to go, look, I got to improve. I got to make the video better. I got to make the video more entertaining. Very important. Got to make it more entertaining. I've got to learn to market at a higher level. And I've got to accept that in order to become great, I got to get started. And I'm just getting started. And I'm willing to accept that I'm just starting. So I'm the road dog. That's but I love the question, man. And I love the frame. And I think if people take it on, they could crush that. What do you think?
So you mentioned, by the way, that this works for chiropractors, realtors, but does this also work for the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker? Like, I don't know. Does it?
It shoots. It does. Man. We've been doing this a while now, eh?
Listen, I'm onto your antics, right? So if it's one thing I know, if you're gonna do video, it has to be on steroids. Boom, right? Like mic drop, the end. Like this is it, right? So, anyways, like you're talking about this promotion, right? Promoting you. Like, can you kind of like can you go deeper on that? Like how to better promote you? Because it's like there's a lot of just chatter out there on that. You know what I mean? Like everybody has their 2 cents.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what you have to say about like, and then maybe give an example of how you're doing it. I don't know. Like how do you go deeper on promoting you?
Okay, so look, if you can make something official, think of the Academy Awards, right? Ever notice how the Oscar is one, but the box office totals say something totally different, right? Like, how do you feel if you start on the movie and it grossed like 10, 100x what the other one did, and then the other one won the best Oscar? So tell me what Leonardo thinks of the Oscars and what he would say to you over a private beer, right? He's going to say it's a joke. But in 10 years, it doesn't matter, right? Leonardo, we all know he's one of the greatest actors of our generation. He finally won, an Oscar a while ago. But like, in 10 years, the guys who beat him are going to be known as the Academy Oscar winners, right? Martin Scorsese, he created, oh God, Goodfellas. I love that movie. The Color of Money. My old man was, played some pool in his day, pretty good at it. Love the movie Color of Money. I think it's Robert Redford, but Cape Fear still probably. I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that scared the pants off me quite like Cape Fear. Casino, Aviator, Wolf of Wall Street, which again is, for us, if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you like that one. And he never won he won an Oscar. Oh, Departed, which by the way, another bloody amazing movie, but like, give me a break, right? Like over a quiet beer, what do you think he's going to say about the, quote unquote, the Academy, right? It's ridiculous. The industry knows it, but that's not, they created an organizing body with all these biases, deeming something worthy, right? Like not the marketplace. How does the market, like we should be pissed off of that as a collective, because it's like, well, no, we voted with our wallets. That's how I vote. I vote with my credit card. I went to go watch this movie twice, right? So, but people will heed to the rankings, right? So think of creating a list is where I'm going, like become, the, what do you call it? The Academy, quote unquote, like Evan Carmichael is a fellow Canuck I know. And he does this. He does like top realtors in Canada, top mortgage brokers in California, top influencers in digital marketing. And then he uses it. So you're like, oh, wow, he created this list. He really he creates the list, and I'm sure it's a very vetted and fantastic list. But at the end of the day, he uses it to drive traffic, and he does it ridiculously successfully, right? Like HubSpot, if you Google top business coaches in the world, the top ranking will be HubSpot. Which, by the way, I'm number 12 on the list. The best bit is a guy who I mentor who's been a client of mine for close to a decade, ranks higher than I do, but that's fine, and I'm okay with that. But the bottom line is like that, they created, like, how did they create the list? I don't know. They never called me. They never contacted me. I had no idea, right? Or best business coaches to follow, a number 6 on that, whatever. It's like, who are these people? What do they create? They never contacted me, never called me. Whatever. And that's fine. So forget that. Who cares? They made the list, right? Like I remember hearing about a oil and gas machinery company. They literally sell awards to oil and gas machinery companies, right? So like the more you pay, the higher you rank, right? And people never looked into it. They probably don't care, quite frankly. But when you're able to say that you're ranked number 1 for X, Y, Z in the entire oil and gas machinery business, it's got power on marketing material. Like Volvo, it's the safest car. What the hell, the safest car, right? But that's the position they own. Question is like, do you have a position? Or maybe you could create the local business awards, right? And then, by the way, as I say that, you'll go away, I think you'll probably say, shit, that's a really good idea, right? And then you'll look and then you'll be like, oh, it's already being done, right? Well, stop it. Think of the 7 steps that I talked about earlier. It's the requirements are as such. Go create your own awards, right? Fastest growing, the most successful, the whatever, right? Like become the organizing body and think about how do you think that might get you on the phone with some ideal clients? If you had a podcast, do you think that might get you some attention for your podcast? And do you think that might get you some good guests? Again, at the end of the day, create the local small business awards. And I'm going to tell you, if you can't get, 10 to 50 business coaching clients as a result of the person that, is the equivalent of the Academy Awards for local businesses and XYZ as in your city, you got to read one of the rules as leverage. You're not leveraging it, right? So speaking of which, like that problem would be, you're going to get ranked on the list, right? Like let's assume it's HubSpot ranks you number 12, and then are you going to tell anyone, right? Will anyone know? Do you have a platform And the answer is probably no. And it's not just to be known. Remember, you got to be known by the right people. You could have that list, right? Hubs, whatever the list is, the top business coaching is top business coach in XYZ city. Like, has anybody ever done that? Well, hire somebody to go and create it, a digital marketer, pay them $3,000, and you're going to pay them, and they're going to make you number one, right? You might feel comfortable with that. You might feel uncomfortable. Remember, number one is you got to have the mindset of a 7-figure owner, which takes you to places that you're uncomfortable, right? And by the way, be worthy of being number one. And if you're like, yeah, but I'm not worthy. Okay, well then you're the actor that has to stop going to the audition, and you got to go to acting school. Right? It's like when we work with our clients. In fact, we on the pre-show Road Dog today, we opened up Erica. Right? I had a girlfriend, Erica Savage, in high school, so we went on a little bit of a rant there. The bottom line is that she's like, "Wow, I can't believe the amount of training and the step-by-step nature, yada yada yada." Like, if you're going to become a business coach with us, we're going to arm you with the best material, the best software, the best videos, the best step-by-step instruction any business coach is going to be able to find anywhere. Like, it's a function of it. So if you're going to be ranked number one, become worthy of being ranked number one, right? And I got to tell you, one of the best ways to become worthy is to get ranked number one. And then remember this: reasons come first, answers come second, right? So you'll sort it out. You're like, holy smokes, I'm starting to get some attention. I better get my act together. I got these business coaching clients. I got to be able to help them. The way that Tom Brady got good at football is throwing the damn football, right? How many coaching clients do you got? If you only got 3 coaching clients and only ever had 3 coaching clients, you suck at coaching, right? You got 30, you're way better. You got 300, you're way better. Have 3,000 coaching clients, now you're crushing it, right? But remember, nobody's holding the number one position, so it might as well be you. If you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, you're not of value yet. Go to value and go to acting school instead of the audition. And then in 6 months, get yourself ranked as number one and pay the digital marketer then. So I don't know. It's just like, it's the mindset. You got to understand the power in between your ears. People don't hit 7 figures because they're too busy earning 6 figures. Let me say that again. Like, you won't hit 7 figures because you're too busy earning 6 figures, right? You need to learn leverage. What is leverage? Other people's money, other people's contacts, other people's networks, other people's events, other people's influence, right? Big other people's influence. It's most people, why you're not successful, they say, I don't have the money, and it's just horse pucky. It's just total ridiculous. I'm going to write an email. In fact, I've already written an email. It's going to come out in a few days, and it's going to talk about that. And it's going to be like, I think I called it 3 doors, but there's 3 doors you could go through. And money is the one that everybody will go through generally, or 90%, and really door 2 or 3 are going to be way more attractive than number 3 specifically. But anyway, so that's, you need to understand leverage. Like, think of going into the business of branding you, and I want to capitalize, italicize, and bold you. Like, what would that look like? Tony Robbins is in the business of being Tony Robbins, right? Make no mistake about that. Like, my mentor, he's one of the first investors in Salesforce. Tony Robbins is a billionaire on his shares on Salesforce alone, right? And by the way, guess how much he got them for? 0. He got them for, what do you call it? For sweat equity. Like, he coached the guy, and he got given shares in the company, and now it's worth whatever it is. Got 250 billion or whatever the number is. Incredible. So Tony, because he's Tony Robbins, that's why, like, he gave him shares in the company to talk to him once a week, right? Or it wasn't even that. It would be once a month, maybe. Go fishing with the guy. Dan Kennedy, in the business of being Dan Kennedy. That's why he gets overpaid. Hulk Hogan back in the day, loved him. Randy Macho Man Savage passed away. May he rest in peace, legend. They were in the business of being Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man Savage. The Rock today. He's in the business of being The Rock. Like, when one guy gets paid $100,000 a year to coach, and the other guy gets paid $12,000 a year, or one actor gets paid $100,000 and the other actor gets paid $10 million, there's not $9,900,000, whatever the gap is, right? Like, it's not that. It's not the $9 million of talent separating them. It's McGregor got paid $100 million to box Mayweather, and he'd never had a boxing match, right? Like, I want you to, like, you hear that and you've heard the stories. My question is, are you doing anything? Are you asking yourself any questions about how in the freaking hell could I do something on a 1% scale to what McGregor did? Because he got paid 100 million. He never boxed before. Like, it's crazy. And he got it because he understands leverage. Every time he gets in front of a microphone, he made a dick of himself. He's loud. He's obnoxious. He pushes stuff over. It's totally, it's staged. I mean, he's obviously pissed off about something and he's about to fight a guy who wants to kill him and he wants to, you know what I mean? Like this is, I mean, it's not like these guys are, playing chess with one another. But he's doing it. It's a show. It's a show, right? Like, again, The Rock, he's just The Rock. The big money flows to people with high levels of status. That's what I'm saying, right? And there's a good chance I say this and it pisses you off. It annoys you. Okay, I'm going to follow that up with get over it. Get into the right business. Get into the business of being you. If you want to get paid, we opened up, remember Road Dog Kyla? It's back probably 6 months ago, maybe 12 months ago. Can't remember, but she's one of my clients from 2000, and like she said it. You can go what goes into. I think it's if you Google the podcast and then what goes into $100,000 client. I opened up Kyla. She's a client today, by the way, still to this day. And she spent $100,000 in, I'm going to say 2008, roughly. And so I have got $100,000 for a coaching client. You're trying to get 12 or 24. That's not me patting myself on the back. It had a lot to do with, it was positioning. That's why I got paid $100,000. And again, but I delivered value. She's still a client today, right? So very high level veterinarian, by the way. But anyway, so you, okay, and forget me, it's just, are you in the business of being you? And you can just do this on a smaller local scale, right? Like, have you ever thought about buying a billboard? You know how the realtors got the billboard? Have you ever thought of getting one yourself? You ever thought about getting that, the bus seat bench? Maybe not. Maybe you should, I don't know. Would it be worth a $5,000 flyer? And by the way, no one's going to give a rat's backside. It's going to be up to you to promote it, right? Like when you talk to the accountant, you're like, oh, you've probably seen my billboard on the highway, right? He's like, well, not really, but hang on, tell me more. Send him a photo of it. I don't know. Maybe that's lame. I don't know. But it would be you going into the business of being you to a degree and taking a flyer and being uncomfortable. And most importantly, doing those events. People love the educator. Just be a damn good one and follow through. Right? Like I used to do an event where I guaranteed to solve any marketing problem on the spot. A little while ago, and I'm going to say 12 months ago, I did where I guaranteed to solve any business coaching problem on the spot. Like again, before the first thing, my poop in my pants, yeah, a little going, damn, I'm opening people up, randomly. I should really turn them into podcasts at some stage. I think we did one, but whatever. Bottom line is that I don't know, when you get your email or you hear about a guy running a presentation where he guarantees to solve any marketing problem on the spot, I'll let you decide if that's, all of a sudden the level of, confidence or preeminence or the positioning is at a higher level. Forget me. What about you? What are you doing? Right? And it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to be more work than quite possibly you're prepared to put in. Right? But help your clients do it also, right? Like stop helping them become a better landscaper. I'm going to presume that they're excellent at being a landscaper. Get them in the business of promoting them as the number one, create those awards and make them the number one landscaper, right? The number one painter, the number one accountant, number one electrician, the best, the most expensive is always good positioning. Right? Help. And of course, again, you got to assume that they're really good. You don't want to yell too loud until you want to be heard. So be careful with that. If it's a new landscaper, I wouldn't go promoting them as the number one landscaper in the city because that might not be a great idea. Right? But they want to become the marketer of their thing as well. Like a good metaphor is like the body, right, Road Dog? Like your body doesn't give a rat's backside if you like nourishing foods, if you like lots of water, and if you like exercise. It delivers results in accordance to how you play the game, according to the rules of health. The end, right? And just real quick, okay, so promoting you, Road Dog, I just want to, storytelling needs a mention here, right? How good are you at telling the story of you? And have you introduced me to celebrities, Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man Savage, The Rock, Leonardo, Sly Stallone, whoever it's going to be, Taylor Swift, right? They're all incredible at answering questions about themselves. and then delving into stories about like let's go movies here, I guess maybe, how they do like the late night scene where they were on Letterman and then they were on Johnny Carson and what I don't even know who the guys are today because I don't really watch TV, but or certainly not that kind of TV. I know Road Dogg. I watched The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Yes, okay, and I'm watching Bachelor in Paradise right now. Very pleased. But I don't know. So whatever. If the celebrities get on the tour, they're really good at telling stories, making them funny, making them dramatic, making them educational, revealing, like getting to know something about. So my ex-fiance overseas, her brother. He's big news in Hollywood. So he's worked on Star Wars, one-to-one with George Lucas, worked with Mission Impossible, worked with Tom Cruise. So he's telling this story about Tom Cruise, right? And I'm just like, I just wanted to hear the story. I wanted to know, like, what's Tom Cruise really like? And you sit down with him and does he sit and eat with everybody else, or is he like elevated at like lunchtime? And it was really, really interesting. So they're good at telling these stories and being revealing about some of the other folks in a ethic, not going to reveal, oh, buddy just smokes dope all the time and then the guy's on cocaine, whatever that is. I don't think it's that kind of stuff. Maybe actually that could work too on a different, but it doesn't. You guys get the idea. You get the idea. I know, like I've got a blog post where I talk about my first hockey fight when I was 16 years old, playing against guys that were 5 years older than me, 21 years old, some of the other guys, and 5 to 10 inches taller. You can Google it, but the fight ends with a guy tapping me on the head as if to say that was never going to go, that was never going to go very well, little buddy. But good on you for having a crack, and hope the eye heals at some stage, right? So like telling stories, forget like, what about you guys, right? Like, are you telling stories? Like when somebody asks, why do you do what you do? How do you answer, right? Do you tell that story to prospective clients? Do you tell that story to prospective JV partners? Do you tell that story each time you get up on stage? And if you want an example of this, just Google Tony Robbins on YouTube and see some of his interviews. And he will talk about, I was 11 years old. I wasn't going to starve. It was Thanksgiving. And you probably know the rest of the story. But he tells the story he tells the same stories over and over and over again. Then guess what? He gets really good at telling the stories. And therefore, he's also measuring this stuff, right? But he gets really good at telling the stories. And the question is, are you any good at telling stories? I'm going to dare say that you probably don't even have any that are scripted and laid out, right? So I would suggest you do that, right? And by the way, when you do that, don't try to be a badass when you're not really a badass, and then don't try to be Mother Teresa when that's not your nature, right? I will tell you this: you start putting yourself out there a little bit, you better be unapologetically you, right? Like be authentic, be genuine, but amplify it, right? But make no mistake, the number one rule of becoming 7 figures, promoting you, quote unquote, Road Dogg, right? Like you asked, you got to feel worthy of promoting you. And then if you don't, you got to go to one word, and that is value. And you just got to up your value game. So, Road Dogg, I don't know, man. That's what I'd say. Shoots. What do you think?
Obviously good. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's one thing that someone can take from today's podcast and start implementing immediately. Like, if you had to pick one thing, I know we dropped a lot today, but what would that be?
I just think you gotta, like, I think we ended it like, are you, like, you're a business coach and you're trying to crush it, and let's assume that you're somewhat new to it. Do you feel worthy of promoting you? And then here's the hack, okay, is that reasons come first, answers come second, right? And this isn't for everybody, but if you have the right personality and you're willing to, put yourself out there, by promoting you and getting the events filled and having the accountants recommend you and working with the business owner, magically you're going to stop going to bed at 8 and you're going to be doing some reading. You're going to be watching some videos, hopefully you'll be using our software, and you'll be going through, the step-by-step roadmap and going, okay, if I'm going to create a market dominating position for a client, here's the A through whatever it is, K that Karl would follow. And then not just reading it and then going to bed, like reading it, writing it down, taking notes, coming up with your own examples, having your own podcast and delivering this kind of content, going to Facebook Live and delivering this kind of content, like putting yourself out there. So, are you comfortable promoting you? Because remember, The Rock gets paid 10 million. The other, his co-star gets paid, significant, let's say 1 million, he gets 10 million. Is there a $9 million gap? And it's that The Rock is better at promoting him. It's like a good example, Road Dog, like hockey, right? Like Sidney Crosby's making whatever. He's making 10 million a year for sake of the argument, right? His left winger is making 2, right? They're on the same line, on the same team, playing in the same game, and the same shifts. They're on the same power play, and one's getting paid 10, one's getting paid 2. Is there an $8 million gap there? Look, Sidney Crosby is great. Or maybe let's go to the guy making 7, who's not Sidney Crosby, who's one of the best of all time. But you know what I mean? Like the guy's making 7 and the other guy's making 800 grand. Think of the football team. There's guys on the offensive line making 10 million, and there's guys on the offensive line making like 800 grand. Is there that much of a difference? The same game, the same team, the same everything. There's a gap, but I got to tell you, one of them has dug in a little bit. And you get the idea. Let's go to the acting. The Rock's getting 10 and the co-star's getting 1. He's not that much better of a dealio. Let's go to business of an actor. The business coach making 100 grand, and then the competition getting paid, whatever it is, significantly less. The gap is it's one of them is doing the live events. One of them is the go-to. One of them, the accountant. He's top of mind for the accountant. Remember, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? So when the accountant thinks of a business coach or a marketing problem and wants to solve it for his client, does your name come up? And the reality is right now, probably not. But are you going? Don't do your best because that's not good enough. Are you going to do what it takes to make it so that in 12 months, 18 months, 3 years from now, that's absolutely the case, right? And Road Dog, that just parlays me into, you can't become a business coach and decide in 90 days whether you're going to continue to do it. I'm sorry, if that's you, you're a lightweight and you're not going to make it, right? This is not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. You want to be a successful business coach. You got to give yourself at a really high level for the local business owners. Like when you do a live event, at the end of it, I get it, you should be sweating and oh my God, and you got to go home and have a nap because you gave everything to those people, you know what I mean? So what am I saying? You become a business coach for a decade. That's the magic of being a business coach. Maybe you could go make more money as a realtor in 90 days, 6 months, a year. Who gives it? Here's the magic of being a business coach. You can do this for the rest of your life, right? Look at Mark Cuban. He's now in the business of providing advisory, right? On Shark Tank. Warren Buffett, he doesn't invest in companies that he can't help. Ray Dalio is, one of the richest guys on the planet. I don't know what he is, but he's worth billions and billions, hundreds of billions probably. And the guy's gone into the business of consulting. And by the way, Buffett's 90 years old, right? These guys are you can become a business coach today and never stop. You do it until you're 90. When you're a realtor, if you can't get up and down the stairs, I'm sorry, you're not selling houses, right? So what I mean by that, look at it as a body of work. Maybe you won't make as much in the first, and I think if you follow our roadmap, I don't see why you wouldn't crush it in the first 12 months. You just got to, be able to get out of your own way and stay uncomfortable. But in 10 years time, you just literally do this for 10 years. If you did it for 10 years, imagine how vast your network would be. Imagine how good you'd be. Imagine how much you could charge, right? Let's assume in 10 years, you could charge $5,000 a month comfortably, which is 60 grand a year. Well, take 10 clients and make 600 grand at the age of 60, 70, 80. And by the way, have it be way easier than today. I've been at this for the most part for 2 decades. You don't think that I can solve a problem 100 times quicker today than I could a decade ago? And absolutely I can. Why? Because my knowledge compounded. My experience is compounded. My network is also compounded, but everything compounds. So you got to be in it for the long haul, right? So Yeah, you've got to become a value, but I really want, it's like when somebody wants to book like they want to do live event master, they want to do an event. I always tell them, look, don't commit to one event and then tell me how it went. Because it's not that I don't care. It's that it doesn't matter. I want you to do 10 events. And after 10 events, you're going to be so much better. And then you're not going to want to quit because it's going to start to work big time. And then and then I just say again, and if you work with us, you've heard this from me before. And again, once you've done 10, my question is, in 12 months, will have you continued to do them? And then in 3 years, would you have continued to do them? And the answer is probably not, because 80-20 applies, and I'm not magic and don't pretend to be, and nor do you. Nobody fails. They just give up. Right. So anyways, Road Dog, a little bit of a rabbit hole, but that's you got to become worthy of promoting. You got to be comfortable promoting you, and the way you do that is to be worthy, and the way you do that is to become of value, right? So don't go to the auditions. You got to go to acting school, but you also have to go to the auditions. So that's my answer, Road Dog. What do you think, Shoots?
Well, as soon as you say we're not worthy, I just think of Wayne's World. So there's that, right?
I love that.
Anyways, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with our very own Wayne's World, Mike Myers himself, the King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, which he was talking about earlier, or just generally want more information on how to build your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone you think might make a great coach. Wow, that rolled off really difficultly this week. And as always, we'd appreciate it if you'd rate the episode, as we know that any sort of streaming service is going to give a ridiculous amount of weight towards reviews. So if you like what you heard, please, come on, man. There's my Joe Biden impersonation for this week. Leave us a review if you like what you heard. And that is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.